Hello, folks. I hope you're all enjoying your summer so far. It's only been summer officially for about a day, and yeah, I'm looking forward to the fall. A little bit hot and humid here in North Florida. Oh, wow. Tonight we got a great one for you. We get to touch base with our friend World of Swap Shop again, who is the host and author behind Star Wars Retold, the YouTube channel. Link in the description, or just use at Star Wars Retold. And we're checking in with Praxeum of the Pathfinders. We've been following this epic work for some time now, and we have like 3 chapters that we have not discussed yet. So we're going to be talking about them, learning about some of the interesting stuff in this great story. The story, for those of you who don't know, is a Star Wars story written by, he goes by World of Swap Shop, but we call them Swappers for short. And the book's been written. It's a mega book, really 2 books in one. And he is now putting them into 2 radio dramas, or shall we say audio dramas, on YouTube. And the channel's called Star Wars Retold. And it's a great story that picks up where The Force Awakens left off. So, in other words, it kind of replaces The Last Jedi and goes from there on a different branch of the tree, shall we say. So, we have an alternate storyline there for our sequel trilogy, at least the last 2/3 of it. So, I am going to introduce my wife and partner in crime on this stream, Liza Sahido of the Psyche Electroacoustic Opera Company. And I just want to make sure I play the right intro video. Away we go. Hello, lady.
Hello.
I'm going to join you in stealth mode here.
Oh.
Yeah, if I hit the right button.
Oh, I like seeing R2 in the background.
Well, maybe I'll flash a little bit later, but it's just easier when I'm trying to manage the controls here to not worry about how my face looks on screen,
Okay.
you know.
Oh,
Now, this is one of those nights where Mr. Brown at Mr. Brown Alliance has ended a little bit early, so I figured, oh, the people that are being redirected, I don't want them to just kind of like come here and there's nothing happening. Might as well get
yes.
going.
Yes.
Although I must say, World of Swap Shop, aka Swappers, aka Kippers, aka all those fun names. He isn't quite here yet. I told him 12:30 his time, which is coming up in a few minutes. So that's probably why he's a little bit behind. Because we're a little bit early. He's not behind at all.
Right. Goodness.
So yeah, it's one of those things where, this isn't network television where everything's down to the precise
Yeah,
minute.
this is
So
better. This is better than network television.
oh yeah, I mean, because then you get to have people improvise kind of like this, kind
Yeah.
of like we're going to be doing here. Let me just double check. I'm going to go over to the I'm
Yeah.
going to go over to the quick twats here and see if I got any message.
No, he's
Oh, wait a
here.
minute.
He's in.
I heard a grunt. I heard a grunt.
Yes. Yes.
Well, this next guest is no grunt whatsoever. And so, yeah, I gotta get the video right, or else it just ain't right. You gotta get it right. Gotta get it right. No, not Scotty from Star Trek. Here we go. we go. Please welcome World of Swap Shop from Star Wars Retold.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
No.
How are we all doing
Ah,
this evening? How
I
are we?
see you're doing an homage to Spinal Tap.
No.
Alrighty, so we have.
It's all. I've always had technical problems. Come on, you should expect that by now.
We're smelling the glove tonight. So anyway, oh wow, it's great to meet up with you again, and thanks for staying up late with us here. For it is midnight in your region of the world, and I tell you though, we are in the mood for some Star Wars because for our evening, get ready for bed entertainment, Liza and I just finished past several weeks rewatching the Clone Wars, and now we just started Rebels again. I guess
We
it's
did.
probably second or third time for us, probably third. Yeah. And man, and each time
Oh,
you
there you
learn. Wow.
I like that.
That is fancy.
Yes.
You got to work that into the channel. What do you call that? The overlay on the channel.
I'll see if I can edit it because it's not quite the right dimensions, but I'll upload another one in a
Oh,
second.
I know that, but maybe just as a section of it because people really. I mean, you were a legend in your portrayal of the Emperor.
Oh, of course, yes. My throat thanks me for every single time I try and attempt that word.
Well, we appreciate it. Oh, and so we are going to be starting with chapter 6, which is where we left off. We did chapters 1 through 5. In the intro, I guess I gave anyone that's new an overview that this is great Star Wars fan fiction, but fan fiction with a story. It's written book, a large enough book to really be two. And it begins right where The Force Awakens left off, although it didn't really leave off. It just the Last Jedi happened, and well, this is where we part ways. So that's where the story picks up. We've done 5 chapters in this discussion, but don't leave us now. We aren't going to spoil too much because we're not even near the end of the book. And
It's getting started. It's just warming up.
yeah, but definitely you do want to subscribe to this channel.
Yes.
Star Wars Retold, because click that notification bell so that way you get notified when a new chapter comes out, because you never know when it's going to happen. It's every few weeks a new chapter comes out, and then there's much celebration.
Yeah, people go to the video description box and sub right now. You will not regret it.
Thank you very much.
I did want to ask you one thing before we get started, because I went to your channel and then I clicked on the links to the Patreon page, and I went there, and at this point it seems like it's just free. So you are accepting non-paying patrons to, I guess, see how many people are interested in helping to support your work, or?
Yeah, I mean, I set the Patreon account up, but I haven't really done anything with it yet.
Oh, okay.
So I've still got to kind of learn how it works. So I thought I'd at least get it set up and kind of get that out of the way. Then I can go in and configure it in a while, But at the moment, I'm content with it the way it is. Once I've released the next episode, which is going to be in the next few days, I will spend more time having a look at that. But up till now, I've just had no time to investigate it and really look through it, at the details of it. So yeah, it's one step at a time for me at the moment. But it will be set up as a paying option.
Well, we set aside some funds, so we'll be subscribing.
Yes,
that's very good.
We were able to work it out now. Unless, of course, you're going to be doing like $100 a month or something. But no, folks, it's great because this is something where the audio is done with some AI usage, and the good AI doesn't come free. So, and so helping out here, I mean, still, even if Swappers gets to cover the AI costs, he's putting a lot of hours in.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
That it's a gift to you. So please help out if you can when he releases the next chapter. Now that has been said, let us move to our slides, because this is why he uses good AI, because I utilize free AI, and this is snazzy thumbnail. As you see, yeah, we can deduce that's Kylo Ren on the right, and
yeah,
this
but
story.
yeah.
And then on the left, I asked for Supreme Leader Snoke, and I got two individuals.
Mm.
I assume that's a young Snoke before he let himself go. And that might have been a young Ben Skywalker before he went all Kylo. I don't know. Something like that. But in any case, they're there. And that's why, free AI only goes so far. But anyway, let us move on here. And so these characters, I put them on the thumbnail for a reason, because at least for me in this story, they have been raised up a bar from what they were in the sequel trilogy overall, I believe, and especially how it came about with the Force Awakens. It's like you don't know who Snoke is, and it's okay to leave that somewhat of a mystery, but the mystery wasn't really. It wasn't quite worth it when you found out in the end, but and you really want someone that you could really feel as a true evil baddie. Now you get the idea that he's a baddie and everything, but I don't know. He just didn't have the same thing. They were basically, I think, trying to position Kylo Ren as like the new Vader, and Snoke as the new Emperor, and it just doesn't work. And from the start, just plopping them there on you. But in any case, these characters, you did a great job with their voices, their lines, the story. It all comes together, and I can really appreciate them now. And in fact, we'll be starting with the folks on the dark side with the Tribunal. Chapter 6 starts with a tribunal where they have to kind of do a post-mortem on an issue they had, where they were basically going to attack the rebel base, but led by Leia Organa. There was a bit of trickery there, and they took out one of the leaders of the First Order. Oh man, and he just slipped my brain. What was his name?
Captain Kennedy.
No, Kennedy was hurt, but the guy who died, the Leia.
Oh yeah.
Hux.
General Hux, yeah.
Well, we don't have to remember him anymore because he's out of the story.
Yeah, he's done.
Okay, so Hux. And of course they lost a capital ship and everything, and the rebels got away, so it was pretty bad all around. And Snoke's not too happy, but you have them opening up with some talk amongst each other. So I think Kennedy is still laid up, right?
Yeah, that's right. He's out of action at the moment. And he's coming into it in the next, I think, maybe the next couple of chapters. But right now, for a little while, he's kind of he's out of it.
And Peavy's there, who was kind of like taking over from him as a captain, and then a couple other folks. And then I heard the name. Now I don't know if the pronunciation was a little weird or something. Was it Thrawn or Thorn?
Oh, Thorn.
Yeah.
I thought there might have been a little bit of confusion for some people there, but yeah.
I thought it was like Thrawn or something, and I was like, could that be? But no, okay. All right. So anyway, and then we do have a speech coming up by the big baddie himself, Snoke, and he kind of lays it out that this is pretty much the last mistake that can happen. And he appoints a Grand Admiral to do some speaking after that, and they come up with the protocol, which I have right here in the next slide because I knew I wouldn't quite. What is it? Not that. No, what was the protocol? The Terminus Protocol.
Yeah, that's it.
And so it's a way that they're going to kind of like get themselves back in order and take things out. Basically, it's almost like a zero tolerance for failure anymore, because they had some failure before. And so I don't know. Rather than me just summarizing, I mean, it's like your description of the room is great. The hall there, this obsidian hall, the Onyx Guard are present, which is an invention by you, I believe, right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they're kind of they're special guards of Snoke's. I'll say that. Like Palpatine had the crimson cloaked royal guards in Return of the
Mm-hmm.
Jedi. These guys they fill a similar role, but they're very very different. They're extremely tall, completely black from head to toe, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not what you think they are. I'll just say that, but I can't say anything more.
Ooh.
Yeah, and I'm putting in the chat, Swappers makes badasses out of these guys.
Yes, he does. Oh
Yeah.
my gosh. We get a real bad guy with Snoke, and Kylo Ren is
Mm-hmm.
a person that you can actually, he's not, he's complex like Anakin Skywalker. I love it.
Mm-hmm. And so the Grand Admiral here is not Grand Admiral Thrawn. I didn't quite catch his name. Who's the Grand Admiral now that...
I took it from one of Mr. Brown's regular
Oh,
attendants
yeah.
in the chat for a couple
Nikki
of years.
Relihan?
From Nikki Relihan, yeah, he's named after Nikki Relihan. It's Grand Admiral Relihan, and
Awesome.
I love the name. I just love the name. So I thought, well, what he wasn't like that until recently, and something inspired me to just change his name. And I thought, what, that would just sound better. It sounds better than the original title that I gave him. So it's a bit more kind of prominence in the name when you speak it and with certain voiceovers. So it fits. It's much more fitting for the character. It's a bit more of a.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, those are classic episodes. The Mandalorian season 3 and Ahsoka, and even before, like I think I missed you guys covering Obi-Wan, but
sure. But he was always.
I got Boba Fett, yeah, and there was someone in the chat named Nikki Relihan, and and you had to read that off in that voice.
I'm not sure.
Relihan for 5 British pounds.
It became a bit of a catchphrase, actually, but
yeah.
I'm not sure if he even knows I've got the channel going and the videos are up, and so I'm not sure if he'll ever learn that I've used his name for the.
Oh my god!
Oh.
Well, he may not have used his name. It might have been made up. Who knows? But
yeah, I mean, it's a name out there. It's just so happens that he has the same one. Yeah.
Oh yeah, but it's awesome. So it's Grand Admiral Relihan.
Mm-hmm.
Little Nicky. But anyway, no, this guy is basically there to, I guess, really instill fear in the upper level brass to make sure they don't screw up again. And Peavy had to explain himself, and basically it was, it wasn't really his fault. It was Hux's decision. And so Hux paid with his life, and but he explained how it was like they thought they were going to be able to get something good out of it, but they were bamboozled. So I don't know. But anyway, so that's how it begins. But the descriptions in this section are really awesome. I mean, just describing the hall, the people there. It's like a book. So you get like this combination of book and radio drama together. And we'll be pointing out some of the other portions where you made the narrator's descriptions really come to life in portions that was like really awesome.
Yeah,
this guy's a writer, folks.
That wasn't an original decision to have the narration in there, but it happens where it's so difficult to try and get across what's going on without some kind of description. So I just thought I bit the bullet and thought I'll kind of make it a hybrid, if you like. It'll just help out a lot. And the sooner I introduce it, the better. I think people will just get used to the idea that it's going to pop in every so often.
Yeah. All right. And it's good that you didn't use the voice from Clone Wars.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh. I mean, I would have been okay with that, though.
Master Jedi Yoda and Padawan Ahsoka Tano have an argument.
Yeah. It wouldn't necessarily lend itself too much to the dramatic tone.
I know. But anyway, it sounds like a sportscaster. All right, training time on Octo. So we know that the Empire, well, not the Empire, the First Order wants to strike back, basically. And it's training time on Octo, where we hear Rey basically is starting to do her own training on her own. Luke is only just warming up to the idea of maybe doing some training, but he's really not certain about it. And and we're going to see later, he's going to describe in just a little bit, like some of his issues with the Jedi of the past. And the issues of, where he finds his role in the world and life in general, and what caused that. And then, but right now, Ray wants to go ahead, and this is free AI, folks. I don't know why there's 3 there, and I don't, I don't know why they're like
one of them is
people.
Nowhere Man.
Nowhere Man.
I think they're from or Mad Max maybe. I'm not sure.
Oh, you know what happened to me last week after that thing? The video was blocked right after the stream ended. So the very few clips that I used, and very short ones at that, one of them from the Italian version of Yellow Submarine,
we didn't think
had to be clipped out before YouTube would unblock it. So it wasn't even monetization reasons. It was just blocked.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't know how they decide which things, they take monetization from, and which things it's like, you cannot show even a smidgen of this, or else.
It's so unpredictable.
Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's why we also have the originals on Rumble and Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, training time. She's training with a metal staff and so forth. So, certainly more humility from Rey. Well, it wasn't her fault. It's like the writer's fault.
Yeah.
Certainly more humility, where she wants to learn, and she's willing to do it with a metal staff at first. And then Luke comes by. And of course, we get multiples of Luke. And so I say he's beside himself, because he truly is, because this is where Rey and Luke really get to talk. And she has this fairy tale vision of the Jedi. But Luke, after what he went through, which he does get to, he mentions, he looked back on the history of the Jedi, and it's like he found them to be elitists, thinking they could control everything and, keep law and order for the Republic. But, one of them fell and became Darth Vader. But Rey counters with, and that same Darth Vader you had hope in, and you knew there was still good in him, and you helped him defeat the Emperor, which fortunately is going to stay that way. The Emperor died. He died. Vader was the chosen one. Anakin was the chosen one. End of circle there.
Wasn't Luke the chosen one?
Well, he was chosen, I guess, to help. But Vader, I guess, was chosen to throw him over the edge. I don't know. I thought that, like, at least in the early prequels, Anakin was described as being the chosen one, or they thought he was.
Well, they thought it was him, but it was really his son Luke.
I guess I can see that. Swappers, what do you think?
I'd say, they kind of both share the description, I suppose. Anakin he did part of the prophecy where he brought balance, whereas the overabundance of the light side was kind of taken down quite heavily, and the dark side rose to sort of level out. So in that respect, he fitted the prophecy. But it was Luke that tipped the balance back in the favor of not the light side, but in the favor of peace and an even playing field between the two. So there was no dominance at all. The dark side was completely. It was there, but it was eradicated in the sense of being this overbearing evil presence in the galaxy. So Luke sort of, in that respect, Luke brought balance. So, but without Anakin, Luke wouldn't exist. So you could say that Anakin's the chosen one still. So it
True.
Kind of goes.
That's how I took it, was that he was the chosen one. However, Luke played an important role.
Yeah.
And we like I said, we were watching Clone Wars, and we saw the episode again of the father, brother, and sister, and these Force beings that were on this planet, and they kind of recognized Anakin as the chosen one.
Yeah, it gets very metaphysical, doesn't it? Clone Wars.
Yeah.
It's kind of very. I'd say the complete opposite end of the scale to something like Andor or Rogue One, where it's very nuts and bolts and grounded.
Yeah,
and you've got the very kind of spiritual woo-woo element to Star Wars in Rebels, with the Mortis arc with the father, son, and the daughter. And it's really out there, and a lot of people that prefer all the starships and the grounded aspects are probably going to look at that and just go like, this is crazy, I can't take this. This is all like spiritual stuff. No. I don't like any of this. What the hell is going on?
I think of it as metaphysical, which
Yeah.
is like a little bit less woo-woo than spiritual, I think.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah. I did wonder how people might react to my story later on, because I've brought Rebels and Clone Wars are a big influence on my story,
Yes. Yeah.
especially later on.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens with Rey? Oh God, I wish I could say, but I can't. And where she goes and what she experiences, and a similar thing with Luke. And I just thought when I was originally looking at the possibility of where the story could have gone after the Force Awakens and what we got in The Last Jedi, I just thought, man, you had all this stuff from Clone Wars and Rebels to build on, all this crazy metaphysical, amazing stuff that Dave Filoni added, he's really expanded on the Force, and you could have gone and explored all of that, and it could have helped you do this, it helped you go in that direction, and et cetera.
Oh yeah.
And they just didn't. They just ignored it. I was thinking, what are you doing? So it's kind of necessary for my story for all of that to exist. So you will be, Liza. I know you're big on that. So when you start noticing it sort of occurring prominently in the narrative, you'll probably be sitting there cheering. So
Yeah, I'm already cheering. I already see it. I saw it coming, and I haven't read your book, and so I can feel it coming, and I'm like, yes, finally, good. When George, just going back to the prequels for a moment, when George Lucas brought in the midichlorians, I was really upset. And it's like, why explain away the Force?
A
and its
natural
with
power in the universe.
yes, with something biological. It's like, why do that? And many people said that George Lucas somewhere along the way lost his faith in something, and then he felt the need to explain the interaction of the Force with people through something scientific, something that can be measured. And I was so disappointed. But then when I don't know if he had a hand in writing, or how much of a hand he had in writing the Clone Wars and then Rebels, but all of that stuff kind of comes back the way it was in the original trilogy.
I mean, the midichlorians still exist,
yeah, but they're
Force
kind of
ghosts
glossed over. It doesn't matter. They were there.
yeah, Qui-Gon Jinn, his voiceover, Liam Neeson's voiceover in Clone Wars when Yoda goes to the Dagobah for the first time, and he gets introduced to the concept of Force ghosts. I mean, look, Star Wars had that to begin with, Force ghosts, and it had, the journey of Luke into the dark cave in Dagobah, and what happened there. So illusions can happen in this galaxy, and so I think you could take it at least definitely a metaphysical level of saying, okay, we can't explain this. This is extra dimensional activity, but that can happen in certain circumstances. So
sure, yeah, absolutely. Well, the whole Mortis arc with the father, son, and daughter might be a bit difficult for, like I said, for some viewers to kind of get their head around. But you kind of have to look at it and sort of think, like, did that really happen? Did they dream all of that? Was it an actual physical event that occurred, and they were all running around fighting these beings and things and getting possessed and whatever, or was it a dream? Or and it's never fully, I guess. It's up to you to decide as the viewer at the end of it. And there's a lot of that in this story where you kind of have to make up your own mind of whether it's actually physically happening or not. But I try to kind of help you decide one way or the other. So it's still open to interpretation, but I do push it in a certain direction. So it's got more of a hint whether it's physical or someone's dreaming. So the Force being the nature of what it is, it's like in the dark side cave on Dagobah. You don't know if Luke physically experienced that event where he lashed out with his lightsaber and cut the head off this being or not, or whether he was just standing there and the whole thing was he was in a trance the whole time, or we don't know. So that's just the nature of the Force and the way the metaphysical aspect of Star Wars goes. So it's always up to you, I think, and I like the aspect of the reader or the listener deciding on their own as to whether this is an actual occurring event or whether it's happening in someone's head or a vision or whatever it is.
Yeah. And I don't know. I thought that episode was great in Clone Wars, and then Rebels too.
And then Rebels, when they bring back the father and the son and the daughter as art, like depictions on a temple. And so were they archetypes or exactly, or symbols that the Jedi used to describe aspects of the Force, or were they real beings? Yeah, that's an interesting.
Well, especially later when Swappers does go a little bit to the side of the Sith in the explanation of the origins of Snoke and what he's doing with Kylo Ren. But that's coming up, so we'll wait until that comes up. Liza, my controls are right on top of what Scott has right there, so I can't.
Wait.
I miss about half of it.
Missed what? I'm sorry.
Scott's chat. You want to give it a little voicing?
Okay. Well, Scott was responding to your question about Luke being the chosen one. I think Luke's father was the chosen one until he went to the dark side. Then Luke became the chosen one, maybe.
Kind of took over the role, maybe. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And I don't know what he thought made sense, but he says that makes sense.
Yeah.
If that makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense, Scott. Of course it makes sense.
We all make sense here on Earworms. All right. So basically, Luke tells his story, and that looks like real forest fires. So Luke's school burns down in a conflict with Kylo Ren. Now, we didn't actually see. We've seen plenty of Mauler videos on The Last Jedi, but we didn't actually see it. So we're.
I refuse to see it. No.
Yeah.
No.
So I mean, the thing is, how does this different from at least the problems, the relationship between Kylo and Luke in The Last Jedi? How does that compare to your telling of Luke and Kylo? This is where Luke says basically what happened and how this affected him.
Yeah, that's right. I've been purposely vague with this so far because it all gets fully explained later on in the story, and it's not really that relevant to this moment in this point in the narrative. But my story is it's not dependent on, because you guys are enjoying it and you haven't seen The Last Jedi. So it's not dependent on people seeing The Last Jedi.
No, I know. Yeah. But I mean, in making the comparison for those who are interested, I just can't speak from a position of knowing because
absolutely, yeah.
I've heard enough about it and I've seen enough video essays on it that I think I got the idea.
It would.
But in this case, I mean, the big difference would be Luke didn't attempt to kill Kylo at all.
No, they had we'll just say an altercation over the way things were being run, I guess, is a very vague way of putting it, at Luke's academy. And there was Ben was going through a lot of negative stuff, and his power was dwindling. He didn't know why, and Luke was completely foxed as to what was happening to him, and it led to a disagreement. And there was a kind of a sway for power by Ben, and he wanted to. He completely disagreed with how he thought things were being run, and there was a manipulation at work and things like this. And there was a fight between them in the middle of I guess you could call it the town square, with all of the other students looking on, and this kind of pivotal moment. And Ben then escapes and sort of flees the place because he just feels like he can't be there anymore. Something terrible and shocking happens that I can't mention.
Right. But keep your mysteries.
yeah. I won't mention any more about that. But then later on, something happens after that. There's a time jump that's all explained. Yeah. Something happens after that that results in the destruction of the Praxeum, and it is just laid to waste, like as alluded to in The Force Awakens and The Last Jedi, but was never delved into at all in any detail. But it is gone into extreme, accurate, close, visceral detail later on in the story.
Okay.
And it's not I'll just say it's not what you expect. I'll put it that way.
right.
But that's all I can say on it. That's all I can
All
mention.
right.
Out of curiosity, do we ever get to find out what happened to Grogu? Because he supposedly went with Luke.
Well, I started writing this like a long time before The Mandalorian came
Oh,
along.
okay, okay.
So
Yeah.
he's not in the story at
Yeah.
all.
Oh,
So
that's all right.
I mean, there's loads of like, most of the Disney characters I like. There's no Cara Dune, even though she's great. There's no
Yeah.
sort of Grief Karga or all these other characters. So it's gone purely on what existed in the sequel trilogy. No, sorry, the original trilogy and the Force Awakens, and a few of the characters from The Last Jedi are in there as well to kind of carry over the continuity. But the characters from Disney TV shows I haven't included at all. I don't think. No, I don't think I have. So you will see some expanded universe characters pop up, but
Nice.
nothing from Disney.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, that's basically why Luke is feeling the way he is now, because he sees it as his failure
Hi,
in
Mr. Brown.
keeping Ben from turning to the dark side. Welcome, Mr. Brown. At Mr. Brown Alliance. Evening, sir. It's not Star Trek, it's Star Wars this evening.
He has the wrong costume on.
And just so you know, I'm going to move it back. We're not going backwards here, but just so Mr. Brown knows, Grand Admiral Relihan. There you go.
I don't think he knows because I'm not sure if he's listening.
He's got to remember. He's got to remember.
He'll remember
Relihan for 5 British pounds.
He'll remember the guy from the chat, but I don't think he knows. I don't think he's listened to many episodes, so he won't have heard that character yet.
Oh, well, you got some work to do, Mr. Brown. Listen to the episodes. But anyway, Nikki Relihan has been immortalized in the story. So we move back on. Oh, well, maybe too fast. No, the school burns, and but Rey still has the hope of youth, and she kind of says some of the good points. That he believed in his father and helped him overcome his relationship with the Emperor and everything, and so. There's two sides of the story there, but basically when you look at all the bad things that happen or all the good things that happen. So we actually get to play a little clip here. I've selected a clip that I think you might enjoy. I only play some bits here and there because your job is to go listen to the work on at Star Wars Retold.
Yeah, there will be a quiz, folks.
There will be a quiz.
Oh no!
Okay, all right. Not you. Oh, I mean, you wrote the thing.
I've got to remember my own stuff. Oh my god.
Oh yeah, sometimes that is hard. I know how it is. Okay. Yeah, and then I browsed to the wrong folder. Don't worry, I have the video here, folks. And there we go. So it's a video file, but we're just going to be hearing audio because that's what the work is.
Octo's light had faded, and Luke withdrew into the temple, unsettled by memories long buried beneath years of amnesia. With Rey now occupied elsewhere, he sensed something rising in her wake. Though the force within him had dimmed to near silence, something stirred.
Yeah, they had a conversation, and now she's away, and Luke's on his own. Get ready, folks. Here we go.
An instinct, a whisper in the void. The galaxy felt tense, breathless. Something was wrong. He stepped out from the shadowed Jedi chamber onto the stone precipice. Moonlight washed over the platform, casting long spectral shadows. His eyes settled on the raised slab at its center. He always knew it was more than mere stone. He could feel it. Placing his hands on its surface, he closed his eyes and reached inward. Sure enough, there it was. A glimmer, a spark.
Luke. The Ashla tree.
And we do get to follow up on this later. But for now, I just wanted to play that in. Just the writing's very good. Like all these scenes, you have like great descriptions of the scenes that really puts you there with the sound, the music, and the voices. It all comes together. And there we go. We just might be hearing about a Leia Force ghost.
Yes.
And so there we go. It's a nice looking thumbnail there. Yeah,
What's
whatever.
going on in that thumbnail?
I don't know.
No.
I don't know. I think it got kind of close to Leia.
No. No.
So anyway, this is the time where Rey's on her own, and she gets a visit via Force Skype by Kylo Ren. I'm sorry, I'm still using that terminology, but that's the terminology that stuck when this came out. So I'm still calling it Force Skype, but he comes in on her, and you say that later we found out why. I think you already revealed that in the previous episode, but I don't know if you want to do that again or not. But in any case, they're both kind of being played here, but he all of a sudden he finds himself in communication with Rey, and he's not wearing anything, I guess, at first. And she says, "Could you put on a tunic?" I remember that was kind of nice. And then they have a talk there, and she gets to hear his side of the story about the problems with Luke, and she's not too happy with his point of view. And so there we go. I don't know if you want to say anything to that.
In the movie, there's this unspoken, unexplained, to a point, connection between them. We don't know why they're being able to see each other the way they are, and you kind of you understand how that happens in my story, where it's different in the movie, where it turns out it's Snoke that's doing it, that's manipulating the connection. But in my story, it's kind of a bit more congruent to the nature of the Force and their location, or Rey's location and Luke's location, so I say. And I think it might be the end of this particular chapter that something happens to Rey, and where she's gone is a kind of a pivotal cause of what's creating this connection between them. So it's all to do with the island, and it's like a nexus of the Force.
Yes.
So that's the reason why strange things that don't normally happen in the Force between people are occurring in this story.
Yes, that we've been getting that bit by bit in some of these scenes, that there's something mysterious about the island, something dark there. But also this is an island on the planet with the first Jedi temple and the Ashla tree. So it's almost like because of some combination of yin and yang, the light side and the dark side, whenever the light side is powerful in some place, so is the dark side in some way.
Yes. Yeah.
So anyway, and they have that conversation. She doesn't really see his point of view and why he's so pissed at Luke and all that stuff. But he basically wanted power, and it was diminishing, and he took it out on Luke and everything. Was he in? I guess this comes up later, so if you don't want to say, don't say it. But was he in communication with Snoke at that time? Okay, I guess we gotta wait.
Oh my god, I can't say yes or no at this point.
Okay,
it's kind of in a way maybe, but he doesn't know it. I'll say that much.
Oh, okay, all right, folks. So that's a mystery to be solved. So we don't know exactly all the things, but Leia at least was of that opinion. She thought it was Snoke that turned him. All right, and so we move on here.
Okay.
Well, Daisy or Rey, whichever you want to call her, she takes a bit of a dive, it seems like. I mean, she starts getting some, I don't know, impressions, maybe a vision, maybe something. But it sounds to me like she kind of goes off the cliff into some water. And that is part of the mystery of this place. So she's kind of like in a bit of some trouble, and we'll be coming back to it later, because the Luke and the others come aware. And I say others because there was others at that moment. I don't know if he wanted to say anything at this point, but I think at this point it was pretty much kind of like another stage of the mystery here about the place.
Yeah, this is. They didn't really explain too much in the film about the Dark Side cave on the island.
Right.
It was just used as a very lazy way to try and explain or try and satisfy the character's curiosity about where she's from and who her parents were, etc.
Yeah.
It didn't really alter the story in any way. I think it was Ryan Johnson just trying to be arty, personally. But it's actually used in this story in a very integral way. Her experience in the dark side cave is similar but very different in this story, and you only find out in the episode that I'm currently writing or currently recording right now, where I can't wait for people to hear it. Actually, because
I can't wait to hear it. Oh my god!
Once you've heard it, you might have. I hope that this is going to be the reaction people have anyway. Is when they're kind of listening to it and they go, "Oh my god, he just did that. He just did it." So I'm hoping they're going to get that moment, but it might be. I don't know if it's going to be too subtle for people to notice or not. But I'm hoping they will notice that I've kind of drawn a curtain across what's come before, and now we're in uncharted territory. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, I've the whole concept because the story so far is a derivative of The Last Jedi. You know, it makes a lot more sense than The Last Jedi, so it's taken a lot of rewrites and a lot of extra things have happened and things like that because the original story was a bit full of holes and it didn't work. But I've tried to make it work with mine, but that means changing it quite a lot. So it kind of resembles The Last Jedi, but not. And this is why I kind of value both people that have seen the movie and people that haven't, because if people have seen it, they're going to spot similarities and things that are different. And then when I get to the episode I'm doing at the moment, chapter 9, they're gonna think, okay, this is so far, this is going to be the same. Yeah, this is in the cave. Yeah, and oh my god! So I think that's the reaction they get. And the people that haven't seen it will just hopefully find it a really fascinating development and a fascinating kind of take on the Dark Side cave phenomena that we had in The Empire Strikes Back with Luke on Dagobah. So it's kind of a mirror of that in a way, and also it develops it and does new things with it. So the people that have seen the movie will get something different out of it to the people that haven't seen the movie. That's what I'm trying to get to.
I guess there might be an interesting face in Vader's helmet.
No,
I don't want to ruin it. Don't want to ruin it.
There is something, yeah. Well, this is why I say it's got parallels with that cave moment, because there's something that happens to Rey in there that is like a parallel to what Kylo Ren experiences in his trial.
Yeah, and and we have another trial coming up. It looks like he has more than one trial.
Yeah, that's right. Well, he's gonna in the
different
end of
sessions. Yeah.
The end of the Force Awakens. Snoke said to Kylo Ren to, or he said, bring Kylo Ren to me to finish his training or something like that. Yeah. And so his training has to be finished, but he doesn't say how many final steps there are. Yeah. So there's this final kind of trial, which is a trial of allegiance and loyalty. And also it's a trial not necessarily to a master to show his ability to his master, but also to show things in the Force to him as well. So there's only certain things in this trial that he experiences. Snoke is kind of watching from the outside, but Kylo Ren only experiences certain things to himself. So it like in The Empire Strikes Back, the dark side cave, or that source of the dark side, is a mirror of yourself in certain aspects. And it's what it reveals is only revealed to you and no one or anything else. So the dark side cave on Arcto, where Rey is a similar kind of thing. So what she experiences, they're both going through this thing at exactly the same time, which you kind of understand. Once you've heard her experience, you realize that both of these things are kind of going on simultaneously, because before she falls into the cave, she's kind of talking to him through Force Skype, and that was just before his experience. So chronologically, they're happening parallel.
Yes, so we're going to be talking about his experience coming up here, but his this stage of his trial where he sees some Force ghosts, and I'm going to play a good expanse of that so we can hear it. No, we're starting with the Terminus Protocol though first. I guess it's being laid out now. And Snoke, at this point in Chapter 7, you began with, I guess, Snoke still talking to Peavy, and it looks like, well, he wasn't there at first, but overhears Peavy talking to some others, and basically, it looks like they at least have a reprieve for now, but, it's like zero tolerance of messing up after that.
Yeah, there's a reason why he's given them a reprieve, is because essentially Snoke sees he's got this incredible gift of foresight, so he can see far into the future. He can see events that are going to happen. But not only that, but he's more sure of what's going to happen than just a myriad of events that could happen. He's a lot more sure about. He can localize something, so he can plan for it a lot more accurately than, say, any Jedi or Sith before him has been able to do. So he's seen something in Kennedy and Peavy that he sees them as essential to his plan. So to give them a reprieve, he's had to give everyone a reprieve, but he's let everyone know that this is a very limited leeway he's allowed them. So if anyone fails again, it's curtains for them.
Yeah, it's very corporate.
Yeah.
All right.
Just blame your underlings for everything that happens in your company or under your leadership.
Now, Kylo's beside himself in this journey. This is the trial we were talking about. Well, one of the stages. He had some trials before. It seems like every time Snoke comes by, I say, okay. And Kylo's like, I want you to finish my training. And Snoke's like, well, we got to do this.
Yeah.
And
stringing them along. You notice there's this, I'm hoping to get across the fact that Snoke's kind of stringing him along a bit. Like, he's do this task for me, and then I'll give you something else. Do this for me, and then something else will be yours. He's it's an inching along of power that he's giving him. He's not quite allowing him to know things. So he's giving him a little bit, giving him enough to keep him interested and keep him following him, and lured by the mystery of who he is and the dark side and the gifts it's going to give Kylo Ren, but not too much as to give him enough power to do what he wants, if you know what I mean.
Right. Yeah. And you kind of gather that, and at the same time, you have this thing where, Snoke is interested in finding the results, but he seems to know more about Kylo's psyche than Kylo does. And, he's able to perceive, in this trip where Kylo's kind of going through, shall we say, one of those hyper reality trips. There's a point where Snoke knows that Kylo is considering, wait a minute, I could kill him right now. And so, just this temptation to kill your master and replace him is there, and Snoke's aware of it.
Yeah.
So,
he because of his foresight, he knows that he's not going to kill him, but he's it's still an unpredictable situation. He doesn't really truly 100% know for sure what he's going to do, because there's always the element of unpredictability when it comes to the Force. But Snoke's manipulated Kylo Ren enough to know that he's not going to stray from his programming.
Right. And I just want to do a brief shout out here to Kevin M. Kraft, who is in the chat. He was on Liza's show earlier. He's a cigar box guitar player, builder, and an author. So he wanted to check this out because he likes Star Wars, and he's also an author, has some books himself on a character called Dobro, who's a cigar box guitar player. I'm going to be reading about shortly because I had some extra credits, so I got them on Audible. Checking them out.
Yep.
All right, but anyway, back to our tale at hand. So Kylo's taking a journey here as one of his tests, another trial, and they talk dark. I don't know why I would think I could cue myself with something vague like that. Trying to remember exactly the conversation, but basically the idea that we talk about Snoke is testing him and knows more about him than Kylo even knows about himself in many ways. And we're going to hear a little bit of that now because here's part of his journey. And let me just press the play button.
This isn't real. None of this is real. I've searched for years, but you and Luke, you both abandoned us. All I ever wanted was to bring you home. You're not real!
Like I always taught you, Ben. Only you can know what's real. Your feelings are the one truth that cannot be deceived.
Show yourself!
Yes, he's been wandering through a dark swamp, and at least that's the vision that he's seeing, and he's seeing these Force ghosts of his father Han and mother Leia, and they are speaking some, important truths to him, and he keeps trying to deny it, like that they have such an effect on him still, but they do. Otherwise, he wouldn't be getting them in his visions, trials.
I'll just mention one thing, which I guess I could have added with the narration, but I kind of wanted to keep it sparse at the time. Was the Kylo Ren's trial is taking place in something called the Tenebrous Dagger, which is a giant crystalline tower that's built into the center of the First Order's base on this moon called Valis 5.
Right.
And it's this crystalline structure is imbued with the dark side, and it's this ancient material that it's made from, and it's not necessarily from that place either. So, and this tower is made from this material, and it's the chambers are built into this tower to channel this dark side energy. So Kylo Ren's experience in this chamber can kind of only take place in this chamber, because what he's experiencing is, like we've discussed, it's very metaphysical. So we don't know how much of it's real and how much of it's in his head, how much of it's a vision, how much of it's being generated by the tower itself. So it's all kind of. Right. I wish I'd gone. In retrospect, I wish I'd put more description in there.
Well, you did mention, like, Snoke did say we're heading to the Tenebrous Tower of Dagger, and it's just I didn't know what that was. So
yeah, that's right. Yeah, so maybe I'll kind of find a way of shoehorning in a bit more explanation in the future chapters. But yeah, that's essentially what it is anyway, in case anyone's wondering.
Yeah, well, that's kind of similar to, like, in Babylon 5, the Minbari had this chamber that Delenn had to go into to experience visions to test her.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you copied it, but I'm just saying that's like a similar thing. But it's like, no, it's a great idea to have that thing, because then it's still one of those things where it's like, okay, maybe this is really just advanced science, or,
You don't know. That's what's cool about it. Yeah, don't have to explain everything,
Sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let us continue with the excerpt.
Show yourself, damn it!
I decided not to cut this up because I was like, the sound is good here. Like, you feel like you're there at that moment,
I'm so glad you're saying that, because I've only got my own opinion to go on. I value other people's feedback so much.
Yeah.
Because to me it sounds okay, but I don't know how it sounds to other people. So
no, this moment is awesome. There are a couple moments, like there was one time where some voice kind of, the level jumped up out of nowhere and stuff. So there are little glitches here and there, but they're not huge, and they're not anything that ruins it. But the thing is, the overall scene definitely works out for basically all the scenes. And then this one, I thought, was just powerful because you think you're there searching in the water with him, or just kind of, he's almost in a way hiding, even though there's nowhere to hide. but it kind of gives you that moment, and so it gives you rather than read what happens, it's almost like you're experiencing what happened.
You shut us out, Ben.
What about you?
Turn back.
No. The past must die. I am more than my past. Unlike you, I was never weak, blind, deluded. You never understood who I really was. Your son died with Skywalker's school. Now, there is only the shadow.
You'll always be part of us, Ben. We won't let you go. We can.
It's never too late.
Face me. Who is that? Grandfather. No. Cowards. Stand before me.
The mist.
All right, and yes, folks, you gotta play the video on Star Wars Retold to get the whole thing.
Yes.
So, but after that, there's that's not the end of the journey. There's more, and there's a point where he encounters. It sounds like a feminine voice, kind of nasty and evil feminine voice. Is that trying to be? Is that kind of like Rey?
That is Rey.
Or, yeah, his
Yeah, I
perception of
figured
Rey.
it was Rey. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't want to like expressly describe it, but the narrator says the scavenger, so you know
Yeah.
it's an image of her or an interpretation of her in a way.
Yeah, and so basically, he's experiencing his trial at this time. She's about to, I guess, experience something like a trial, and he's he's getting these symbols or people that represented goodness in his life that still love him and still want to, at least the way they express it there, they want to, rescue him from the situation. It's never too late, and that sort of thing. And then he feels almost like the Rey person in his communication with her, and how he keeps having these force Skypes that happen to him. That it's almost like, what is this woman? Why can't I get away from her? What? He's kind of intrigued by her, but at the same time, he knows that she's not down with his side. You know what I mean? And so he kind of sees her as an adversary. And so I don't know. Maybe I'm just tripping on that.
No, I agree with you. I feel like.
Well, we have the author here.
Just to give swappers an idea of what I took from the story, I think. What do you call Snoke holds Rey over Kylo Ren's head, saying, if you're not a good boy or if you don't advance enough, I could always train her.
Yeah,
like that.
Yeah, he's kind of a threat. He's trying to manipulate Kylo Ren again to think, you're not the be all and end all. I can always find someone else.
Yes.
And he's kind of showing him possibilities of what may happen, or influencing him maybe to see possibilities of what may happen. So it's all manipulation. It's all ways of trying to coax him into a certain direction.
Yeah.
Well, that's something I envisioned as a good idea if they had really started The Force Awakens at a different time, or this whole thing in a different approach. If they wanted to show more of Ben's fall and Rey advancing, it's like maybe the story could have had both of them in the school, and they could have been in competition with each other, and his jealousy is what turned him to the dark side.
Yep.
At least that's something I was envisioning as an alternative story to what Disney had. But
I'll say stick with it, Lawrence.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So anyway, at the end of this trial, he speaks with Snoke, and Snoke says, "You're going to wear your helmet anytime you come out of your room or whatever. You're always going to wear your helmet from now on." And that's the way the Knights of Ren had done it. And so what is your vision for the Knights of Ren? Because that is something like because I messaged you about this because I was like, I really never really understood who they were or anything like that. And I assume you're kind of like creating your own kind of Knights of Ren here. So
yeah, well, we were given so little with what they were or who they were in the films, any of the films. I think it was another one of these J.J. Abrams things where he sets something up and never bothers to follow it through. He just thought, oh, they'd be really cool to put in there, and it'd make people say, wow, who are these guys? And then it never follow it up. So I thought, well, I mean, these guys could be. They could be this. They could be this. They could be this kind of thing. They could be these people. There's so many possibilities, and I settled on one in the end, which was the most obvious one, and that's they are a group of dark side acolytes who are assembled into a gang or a group or like a special ops unit who act as Snoke's kind of personal, not hitmen, but they're not inquisitors either. They're more sent out into the field to achieve a certain objective as and when needed, because certain people, stormtroopers, Captain Phasma, whoever else that might be in the ranks of the First Order, cannot be allowed to know about, if you know what I mean. They're very exclusive operations, so they could influence Snoke's plans drastically if anyone knows about it. So these people sort of achieve things without anyone knowing. So they go in and maybe do an assassination or a terrorist attempt or anything, but they'll be in there and out, and no one will know that they've been there. And it's only Luke, as we find out way later on in the story, only Luke is aware of who these people are and what they're doing, because he's worked things out through the Force and through his own intelligence in the Resistance and the Republic. But that's essentially who the Knights of Ren are. So no one really knows they exist unless they're in the First Order. And Finn, as we find out later on in the story, knows who they are, but he's never seen them. He's never met them in any way. So they're almost like a myth.
But they're in the present. They're not from the past, or were they in the past at some point?
They've been around for I'd say they've been around for about 40 or 50 years in different guises, but they've never been a unified force really until Snoke came along, and he kind of assembled them as he saw their potential and said, right, I've got a job for you.
They were freelancers until then.
Yeah, they were acolytes of the dark side, but they were never Sith, or they never allied themselves with anybody. They were following the dark side and what the dark side kind of means to them. But Snoke saw potential in them and recruited them, and now they're his kind of personal outfit. But when I say they're followers of the dark side, I don't mean to say they're necessarily Force users. So it's too easy to put like a load of people like the Inquisitors in your story and say there's Force users everywhere now. When we know that there was a massive cull with the Jedi and the Sith, and there was there were only a couple of Sith anyway, but all the Jedi died out more or less, and so we shouldn't fill the story with Force users. So these people aren't necessarily using the Force. But that doesn't mean to say they can't be acolytes of the dark side. So Snoke has, like Kennedy and PV, he has very specific use for them and sees value in them, even though they might not be Force users.
Are your Knights of Ren swappers at all related to kind of like what they implied in Rebels, that the Knights of Ren came from Mandalore and have a backstory there?
Not in that respect. Not all of them. No, one of them is a Mandalorian.
Okay.
Which you don't find out until towards the end of episode episode.
Oh, don't give anything away. I was just curious.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm not going to say how or why or whatever, but there is a kind of a reveal. You find out where he's from, but it's not like a big deal or anything. But something happens, and you kind of discover kind of a bit of the background for the Knights of Ren, and that they're not all just Force users or they're not random people or whatever. These are people sort of taken from specific walks of life. And one of them is a Mandalorian, so he does have history in Mandalore and everything. But the Knights of Ren themselves aren't a group from Mandalore in this story.
Okay.
Okay.
But they have like this image here. Well, for many reasons, it's not really accurate. But the one problem with it is apparently the Knights of Ren always wear their helmets, or at least when they're around others.
Yeah, it's very important for them never to reveal their identity, because they will have the capacity to be double agents. So if they do reveal their face, then it's in a kind of an infiltration perspective. So that they might be in a public place or something like that without their outfit on, but no one knows who they are.
Mm-hmm.
And then obviously when they're back in or behind enemy lines or whatever, or back in away from their duty, they're always wearing their outfits no matter what.
Right.
So their faces only ever show. So it's got almost like their true face is their anonymous side, if you like.
So you were writing the story before Mandalorian, so you basically came up with the idea of never take your helmet off for a Star Wars character before they did.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
they took your idea.
They did. How dare they?
And just put it on.
If they knew about it, maybe. Yeah, but I don't think they did.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, and that's of course where Kylo's dark side name comes from, at least in part, as I guess Snoke said, all right, I envision you as like, I guess, being the leader of these guys.
Yeah, there was a Marvel comic, I think, which kind of back-explains the stuff about the Knights of Ren a couple of years ago. So I'm kind of using that as the lore for the Knights of Ren in this story, where there was this dark side user called Ren. He wasn't Sith or anything, he was just a dark side user. And he had followers, and they were the Knights of Ren. But Snoke recruited them as they were, with Ren as their leader. But something happened to Ren, which I can't say, and that position was open. So Snoke saw that fit for Ben when he was recruited into his. Yeah.
All right. Interesting.
Oh, yes.
So now we go on to chapter 8, folks. I mean, like I said, this stuff's deep. And, actually in that last bit, one thing I forgot to mention is that, Snoke does reference that, they are from a darkness that's older than the Sith, and it's not Sith. And it's almost like, on one side, Snoke is saying, all right, the Sith weren't quite good enough, and has Kylo kind of agreeing with it. And then on the other side, Luke saying the Jedi's not good enough.
Yeah.
And they're looking for something more fundamental, I guess.
Sure.
Now, this is not
both
a good...
sides are right, though, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. There were issues with the Jedi. I mean, and Lucas never really emphasized that, but the fact that you're basically fine with having a clone army as people that are bred just to be cannon fodder is like, I don't know.
Well, I think that's where he decided he was, because what was it later? I don't know. Was it in Return of the Jedi that Yoda says that the Jedi fell into darkness or something like that? Or was it? I'm
I think it was in Rebels.
It was in Rebels.
The episode we saw last night.
No.
Because he was appearing as kind of like an entity in front of Ezra Bridger in the Jedi Temple they found on Lothal.
Okay, it wasn't Rebels. Retrospect.
And he was talking about, how they
So was Lucas trying to
wrong.
fix things, I guess, patch things up in Rebels?
I don't know if that, I guess he just he probably maybe saw a failed opportunity there to kind of like drive that home a little bit more, that what the Jedi were really doing, Well,
I think, if you
they were
I don't know if Lucas intended this, but it seems like there was a lot wrong with the Jedi, because you realize the most powerful Jedi came after after Sidious took over everything, and Jedi started having families, like Ezra with his parents, and then with the rebels, and then Luke with his father's half brother, and so those are the Jedi that were the most powerful, the ones that grew up in families. The originally in the Clone Wars, they showed the Jedi in Ivory Tower, disconnected from, people, even disconnected from nature, and
Well, yeah, and
not having real life experiences.
yeah, and
And
they go out and find younglings that have force
yes,
potential, and it's like,
rip them away from their
but then
family.
later it's like also, well, the metachlorines are inherited and all that, and it's like, okay, so how
The
does this all?
midichlorians kind of ruined a
Yeah,
lot of things, but I think, like, they try to patch things up in Clone Wars and in Rebels with these, as you say, swappers, with these metaphysical things. Like, for example, in the episode about this crazy Jedi temple in Lothal in Rebels, is like, was most of that powered by technology or by some other force in the universe? And you never find out, and I think that's cool. And so he was trying to bring the original feel of Star Wars back in these animations. I don't know. That's just what I think.
I really loved what he did with. A lot of people don't like it, but I really loved what he did with the World Between Worlds.
Yes.
hmm
But I'm not. A lot of people don't like it because they see it as a way to retcon things or travel in time or rewrite things. And I thought to myself, if I ever included this in a story, I'd probably use it very sparingly, and
hmm
just and have it as use it as a device of looking into the future or past, not being able to affect anything in the future or
yeah,
past. So um, that was one of the great things I took away from Rebels, was the fact they really kind of pushed the development of the Force and the these metaphysical places that we'd never
yeah.
experienced or ever witnessed before. And I thought, this is just a genius. I
Well, and
love the expansion of the lore. It's great.
it came from a place where you knew that, oh, they love Star Wars.
Yeah,
If
yeah,
you disagree with some of the things they're inventing, you still can't challenge the fact that, oh, they really like, this IP. They're not trashing anything. They're really
Yeah.
doing what they think is best for it. And yeah, I thought it was. I thought the World Between Worlds was great stuff. And actually, I give you permission, if you ever in one of your books want to bring Kane and Jarrus back. Go ahead.
Yes, I was gonna ask. I was gonna, we're on the same wavelength. I was gonna ask Swappers if he ever thought. Well, let me ask you, because Lawrence brought it up. Are you going to expand into what happened to Ezra Bridger and Kanan Jarrus later?
No.
Oh, darn.
Not in this story, but no, there's
Maybe in another novel.
possibly that's always possible in the future. The
Yes.
reason why I didn't in this one is because I thought I've already got quite a large
A lot
cast in
to
this,
work. Yeah.
and if I add Rebels characters into it as well, we're going to get really tangled up. And I thought they kind of their story arc had it was encapsulated in Rebels, and I kind of
Yeah.
don't want to pry into it and kind of expand on it in my story. So I think I'm trying to keep certain aspects of Star Wars separate, if you know what I mean. So this is what I'm rewriting the sequel trilogy here, and I'm trying to keep that as its own encapsulated. There might be hints to characters and events in those periods of Star Wars, and as avid viewers and fans yourselves, you'll probably spot them straight away, even though they're very subtle. You're probably like, yes, 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 like pointing, like yes, 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 that's it. Most people, a lot of people will just like completely skate over it and not realize. But I'm sure you guys will spot them when they do pop up. But you'll see hints to it, definitely.
Mm.
Well, definitely,
Yeah.
if you ever decide to follow up with other novels in that direction, I will be on it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know. I watched your like Mr. Brown and yourself and not Brian and the whole gang. do Ahsoka, and I haven't seen it for its sake, just your thorough review of it, and I'm, I have concerns about what they did with the characters.
Well, not just. I mean, I haven't even seen it.
Yeah.
But when they brought in the character in Mandalorian, she was. I mean, there was nothing wrong with the actress, but the design of the horns seemed like a hat. First of all,
Yeah.
they didn't really flush out the makeup or anything. It wasn't. She didn't look like an alien. It was a lady wearing a hat, and it was very disappointing.
Yeah.
And yeah, I know it's impossible to take the martial arts that happened in the oh my gosh, in the animation and bring it into live action, but they could have tried harder with that. Come on.
Yeah, I think so. We were kind of despairing really when we were watching Ahsoka. It was so lazily made. I don't think Filoni really. It seems like he was directionless with that, and he didn't really have much of a. I guess he didn't have much. He didn't know where to take it as far as big event situations go. So, like we've got with the original trilogy, Lucas was taking it step by step with each episode, 4, 5, and 6, and he knew a big event. The story was going to revolve around a big event for each story. And you've got a series like Ahsoka, which is a live action show. It should be revolving around a big event itself, and it didn't really seem to have a core like that at all. It kind of meandered on.
My God.
We were all wondering where it's going, and is something great going to happen because the full world between worlds is in it, and wow, anything could happen. And everyone was just so let down by it.
Because it didn't have the same spirit.
Yeah, it was just kind of a whimper of a show. And it had such potential, and it was a big disappointment.
Yeah. One ought to wonder: were the writers of these shows? Did they watch Rebels? Did they watch Clone Wars?
Well, wait a minute. Well, Filoni, I forget. Ahsoka, was that Filoni on his own, or I guess you guys don't know either.
I don't know. Yeah,
I don't know who was behind it at all. I'm just assuming that Filoni was writing, probably with help from other people. But I mean, he does wonders with animation. He's just not so great with live action. It seems like there's a barrier there.
Yeah. But the story. Well, anyway, let us get on to a good story here. There's a mysterious ship at the beginning of Chapter 8, and it's the one that was kind of mentioned in the scene previous in earlier chapters. The rebels are fleeing. They're low on supplies. They're basically in trouble, and they come across a mysterious ship, and the capital ship, Echo of Hope, is the one that's trying to figure out what this ship's about, and they're communicating with them, and the ship seems to be a bunch of meanie pirate people. Although I would have to say, I think her name's Emerus, the head of the well, they I liked how you called them wayfarers in space. Anyway, but they I forget what the name of it is, but it's something like the something of the sovereign.
Oh, sovereign of free reign. Yeah.
Yeah, sovereign of free reign. It sounds like, oh, anarchist. That's cool. But
nice.
Their leader, Emerus, sounds definitely like a very posh pirate at least.
Yeah, that's right. I thought that I could have gone down the horribly hackneyed route that they did in was it Mandalorian season 3 or 2? I can't remember. I think it was 3. The awful literal interpretation of space pirates. Oh my god!
And they were worse than Hondo.
Terrible. Terrible. And
I liked Hondo.
Hondo's fine.
No, Hondo was good, but I'm saying they were worse.
These guys were just dreadful.
At least they didn't ruin the memory of Hondo by putting him there.
But I thought I could go down that route, but I thought, no, roll it back. Han Solo was a space pirate. And
yeah.
That's not necessarily the definition of a pirate. It just means that the way of life lends itself to piracy. So Severum hasn't reached her position in this grand organization that made up of billions of people without being educated and of a certain social standing. So through her trials and tribulations, she's proven herself, her education and everything. She's proven herself to be more capable than most, and it takes an intelligent person to be at the top of the ladder. So she's a cerebral character. So I couldn't have her as like some slovenly, drunken layabout. That just
Jack Sparrow.
Like Sparrow. I needed
Cool
more of a sort of a cold, calculating, intelligent kind of person in that role.
Well, I mean, it's a matter of perspective. So the what do you call it? The Echo of Hope people think of it as they're pirates, but of course, pirates don't think of themselves as pirates. They're just
exactly
people. It's like, hey, we'll leave you with your capital ship. You'll be alive. You'll have your ship. You'll be all right. But you're not going anywhere anyway because you're low on fuel. So we might as well take the stuff you got because you're all equipped for war, and that's not necessarily good. That makes life tough on us with the First Order, and so I guess they've been able to kind of get away with what they're doing and not being bothered by the First Order by things. They're not being a lot of attention on what's going on. So
as yet they've been lucky. It's like it is explained much later on in the story where the First Order come from and their development, but I guess it's not going to spoil it by mentioning it, where they arrived in the galaxy while the Republic was burgeoning, while it was building itself up, and they slowly sort of grew as a political party, and due to certain opinions of certain members of the Senate, they were given a lot of leeway because there were a lot of liberals in the Senate that kind of said, no one should have guns. We're going to disarm everybody. It's the only way to prevent war. It's the only way to make everyone safe. Everyone's got to disarm. All the armies are going to be disbanded and stuff. So that led to the First Order obviously seizing an opportunity. And they aren't necessarily using, like the Empire did, shipyards with loads and with millions of people constructing things. They're led by Snoke, and he's much more resourceful, and he's obviously a master dark side user, and their resources may not be procured in the same way because he can use the Force to do amazing things. So he's building up an army in ways that are unnatural, shall we say.
Okay.
So we've seen this rapid meteoric expansion of the First Order in a very short space of time. Up to a point, the nation of Arcassus, which are the pirate nation throughout the galaxy, who are now unified under a network, thought they had it good because the Republic were only kind of fledgling. They weren't really laying down the law much, so they could get away with a lot before the Republic really got itself established and a police force was put into place. And then the First Order turned up and kind of blitzed all of that, so that this burgeoning police force was completely destroyed, and everything fell back into lawlessness again. So then, the pirates thought, great, this suits us perfectly. We don't care if there's this totalitarian regime about to take over the galaxy. They don't have, the Empire always allowed piracy, so we should be fine. So that's the way they're seeing it. But they don't know. They're kind of very naive in that respect. They don't know what's going to happen. They don't know what's on the horizon.
So, Liza, I'm trusting that you're going to share anything that Scott has to say that, bears with our conversation, because
Scott and other people in the chat as well. Yeah. I'm paying attention to the chat.
Okay, I'm just making sure. All right. So anyway, no, and then there's a discussion between this Emerus Severum and another lady who we get to meet in this next scene. And I could just call it lady talk. So, I mean, and I forget the name. I know the last name begins with a G. It's kind of like, I don't know, Marina Gulch or something like that. But go ahead, Swappers. You'd probably be better at talking about this character than I would.
Yeah, after intimidating the Resistance convoy, Severum goes off to another appointment that she's got waiting.
Yeah.
In her in her boardroom, I guess you could say, and it turns out to be a character returning from The Force Awakens, and she was kind of only used as a brief presence in Episode 7.
So I did see that one. Did she play the lady with the removable eyes or something?
Well, goggles, I guess.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's
yeah.
her. All right. I
Yeah.
I never memorized her name because she was just so,
People called her Lady Yoda or something, but
Yeah, that's right.
anything wasn't
She's
anything.
she's force sensitive, but she never
Oh.
trained to be a Jedi or anything like that. So she's got certain abilities, and she's incredibly old, like Yoda. And I think originally Kathleen Kennedy and J.J. Abrams' idea was to create their own Yoda, and they thought, oh, this time let's make it a woman, and let's make her orange, and let's swap this around and do this, and she can be really knowledgeable, and yes, she can use the Force. You can see the thought process that's gone behind it, and the character originally didn't have any substance whatsoever, and no backstory, and no history, and no integral elements to the wider story. But I've hopefully managed to tie that in a bit more in this story. Not that I've included her as more prominent character, but she facilitates the main character's weaving into the story a little bit more. And I just thought, well, they introduced her in the previous movie. They obviously wanted her to be something in this trilogy, so therefore I have used her. But she's not used as I think Kathleen Kennedy probably wanted her to use, and that's probably to be some kind of force-sensitive person that was greater than Yoda. Is probably what Kathleen Kennedy wanted. I've just used her as she's a plot device to kind of further the scenarios that play out. So it's nothing major, but I think it's kind of a nice continuity from previous episode.
And so they worked out a deal. I'm just wondering if you could explain that deal, because to be honest with you right now, my memory has kind of faded. And at the time it sounded really cool, but I forgot.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember myself now. Because my mind has been so much on the following episodes that it's
right.
But yeah, it's essentially Maz's castle on Takodana, which was her planet, which is kind of a layover for all kinds of pirates and galactic detritus and lowlifes throughout the galaxy. Was destroyed by the First Order in their assault looking for Rey.
That's right.
Yeah, the droid and whatever, and so she had nowhere to go. And in her escape, she was captured, and she escaped with another pirate, and they managed to extract information on the First Order, some valuable data on the First Order about flight paths, star charts, plans, strategies, all that kind of stuff that was stored in the First Order computers. And she's offered it as a bargaining chip to Severum to have asylum on her ship until she finds.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I knew. Yeah, she wanted asylum, but I didn't remember the planet name, so I didn't know how that fit in. But yeah, so she has a problem with the First Order, definitely.
Yeah.
And so she was granted asylum, and I guess from this point we have another direction to go in the overall story, and sounds interesting. But at this point, the Resistance is just preparing to deal with these people, because these people are saying, "Well, we're going to steal your stuff. We'll let you live, but we'll steal your stuff."
Yeah,
and
so they're villainous, but not proper evil people. If you know what I mean. Not, they're kind of just ruthless and take what they want, rather than we're going to destroy everything and everyone will worship us. They're just kind of surviving, if you like.
Mm-hmm. Alrighty. So there we go. We'll see what happens with the Resistance and the Sovereign folks later on. Now, I got two Ashla trees here. Well, anyway, this is where Luke goes, because he's called there from the experience he had in a few scenes back. And this is where he encounters some people that he kind of knows in a different form. So I'm going to play video clip 3 so that we can hear this. Interesting how it gave me animated versions. But I think your use of Force Ghost was really good, because that's something that was kind of, at least to my understanding, left out a lot in the sequel trilogy, and kind of giving. It's a great way of also giving some story and working through some feelings without having to force characters to do it. You know what I mean? Because I think of the Force Ghost as like a kind of like a utility that's outside of being a character in a way.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Luke,
here we go.
do you think we were about to let you leave without a proper farewell?
Obi-Wan. Wait. Farewell?
You can't very well remain here. This may be the first Jedi temple, but it was abandoned for a reason. A fine place to hide, perhaps, but not a place for the resurgence of the Jedi.
Just where is it you think I'm going?
Somewhere once known as Akudami.
Akudami?
Another name to remember?
What is it, a planet?
Now that the girl has found you, this place will no longer hold you. Not for much longer. Something here on this island, in you, has stirred the Force again. You felt it. Otherwise, I would not be visible to you. The time has come to let this exile go, Luke. The silence, the hiding, the guilt. It ends here. The path you left behind is still there, waiting. The one you began the day you met me.
So now you finally appear. After everything. Just to send me off chasing shadows? A place I've never heard of? With some girl from nowhere? After what I've done? What I caused? No. If I step back into the chaos now, I won't be fixing anything. I'll only make it worse.
Luke, the simple truth is, the galaxy has fallen further than you know. Without the Jedi, there is no one left to steady the course. No presence to remind the brave why they endure. No light to follow through the dark. You thought stepping away would contain the damage, but absence has a gravity all its own. The chaos you fled has only deepened, but you are still capable of shaping it, of turning the tide toward purpose, toward something worth believing in again.
So I should just throw myself back into the fire with the Resistance, only to vanish again on some idealistic quest? What makes this Akudami worth more than the war? And why would I take her?
She is curious. She seeks answers about her past, her very being. Akudami is the destination you must both seek. A place of resonant water and magnetic song. A place that remembers how to mend what war has broken. And its importance, Luke, goes far beyond what you understand now.
So far, this is giving the reader or listener a lot of things to look forward to.
Yes.
Like this place, magnetic resonant waters. It's like, that sounds nice, you know. Mm-hmm. And a place of purpose. And it's like he's providing the idea that, okay, this place was just temporary. It was a place for you to come face this difficulty, and then you've been rejuvenated now. You wouldn't have been able to see me if it wasn't for the convergence of the place and this lady, Rey, coming there. And I paused it a bit just in case we wanted to talk about it a bit more, but in the next bit it does talk a little bit more about Rey's intentions, which is interesting.
Before you move on, I just wanted to second what Scott said, and he said, I would have liked to see this. And so,
yeah. I mean, as you're listening to it, it sounds like a film, and you can kind of, in your mind, kind of see the characters there, and you hear them move and walk. You hear the waves outside, and the music's just right.
I do have a question in regards to that for swappers, but I don't want to bring it up now. Like maybe before we end the live, but keep going.
Okay, so you've just mentioned, I'm going to bring something up in about 5 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, we're a little bit weird here, Swapper. So, do you have anything you want to say before I play the rest?
Just trying to think. Oh, I will say this whole sequence. I read this out live on Mr. Brown's stream about 4 or 5 years ago,
Oh, wow.
and it was just me basically narrating the whole thing and doing the character voices and everything. And I chose this particular sequence in the Ashlar Tree with Luke and the Force Ghosts because it doesn't spoil anything in the story. It kind of entices you with new things and intrigue. And it shows that Luke is changing from the miserly hermit that didn't want to do anything in the story to something that more towards what we want to see the character be. So I chose that because I think it's, and I also recorded as an example to see if I could do it in AI using the voices. This sequence here alone was my first attempt at doing this audio recording.
Wow.
Oh.
This was the one I uploaded to my other channel back in November, I think it was. But I didn't really put the link out to many people. I just a few people like Brian and Mr. Brown and a few others. And I was really proud of what I did. You know, I didn't think it was possible until I sat there all night throughout. I think it took about 8 hours to do it.
Wow.
And I was so pleased with what I did at the end of it. I just thought, wow, this is obviously viable. I can do this, you know, with a monthly subscription to 11 Labs and my writing and everything. I can do this. I can do it. And it spurred me on. And some great feedback from people was really heartening. And it spurred me on to start right back at chapter 1. And re-recording this chapter was very emotional because of that. But it was extremely emotional when I originally read it out for the first time on Mr. Brown's stream. You could probably go back and hear it. I can't remember exactly when it was.
I mean, he did a cutoff thing. I mean, I was listening to his old streams, like even the first one with Trev and stuff, you know, and then he at some point had to, I guess, get rid of a lot of old episodes because of some issues with somebody you might remember.
Oh yeah.
So he had cut them off, and then I didn't get all of them, but I do remember you reading excerpts.
Yeah,
I don't particularly remember if it was this one or not, but
yeah, I think I read out another one as well, but which is much further in the story. Actually, no, it was the start of episode 9.
Yeah.
But in this particular sequence, when I first read it out, I was almost in tears because it was so emotional for me to read it, because we were seeing Yoda and Ben again, and
and like R2D2 started it off like a few things back with showing the hologram again, and then here with Obi-Wan prodding Luke to, and we're going to hear in a moment he has some important things to say. He's able to, I guess, kind of like reach him in a way that Rey couldn't, because she's just some strange girl that just came there with his father's lightsaber. Yeah.
So I want anyone listening to it to kind of know a lot of emotion of my own has gone into this. So it's almost blood, sweat, and tears, and a lot of emotion has gone into every single word of my writing in this. So it's not just something that
Well, there's a reason why I picked this as an excerpt. You know, we didn't plan this ahead of time, which excerpts I was going to play.
Sure, yeah.
Somehow it's this one.
A lot of people think that you're just kind of throwing some prompts at AI and you're churning out something, and that's not it at all. You know, I've scripted out word for word everything that's been put into this. It's all come out of my own fingers. So, and it's all my own emotion and my own passion, and I really hope it comes across.
It does.
It does.
So let's finish this clip here.
And I suppose you can't just tell me how to get there yourself.
You know I am not permitted to interfere in the natural order of things, Luke. The future is shrouded from us since the emergence of the one you call Snoke. Some truths can only be revealed through the arduous path of self-discovery. A path you know well. You have become a man seasoned in wisdom, certainly surpassing mine at your age. Your knowledge of the Jedi and the Force rivals even the archivists of the Old Order.
And I refuse to pass on that knowledge. From what I learned of their history, I couldn't allow the galaxy to repeat the mistakes of the past. I came to see the old ways of the Jedi were not the way of the future.
This girl is no Jedi, nor will she be.
Oh, hoo, hoo, hoo. Someone better tell Disney.
Yep.
All right, I'll keep playing. But I remember that before. I was like, ooh, bold move.
Training her is not your burden to bear, but guidance, that is a different path. As I once was, you are to be her mentor. The Force will shape her destiny, but she needs the guiding light of knowledge, a wisdom only you can offer.
Luke.
Leia. She came to me before. She helped me see again. I need to know what happened. She's one with the Force now, isn't she? I wish I'd been there for her. Until now, I felt nothing. Trapped here, and my connection to the Force was...
She is aware, Luke. Through the Force, she sees all.
All right. So we stop it there. I mean, there is more, folks, but you got to hear it on the channel.
Yes. Please go to his channel, subscribe, click the notification bell, and just binge listen to all of the episodes. It won't be hard to do.
It's probably like a feature film's worth of content up there by now, I should think, in length, in time taken, I should think.
That's what I wanted to ask you, swappers. With this new Google video technology it's out, I know right now it's very effing expensive, but a lot of the experts are saying that, AI is becoming so ubiquitous that the subscription price is going to come down, down, down really, really fast, where you could just give something a script and it will generate a motion picture for you. Have you considered doing that? Or I know there would be some legal steps you'd have to look into. I don't know how Ivan Ortega got around publishing.
Well, there's plenty of people that have done some sort of short fan fiction things.
Yeah, but this is not short fan fiction. This is going to more than rival. You have become our rival, kind of thing. Yeah. So how have you considered it? Have you thought about wanting, or do you want to jump through those hoops? I don't know. Just putting it out there.
I would love to make this into video format. I'd love to do that. I don't know how much work would be involved in it, because it's not as simple as just typing prompts in and then getting, it's not necessarily going to give you what you want. It's going to give you an interpretation of what you want.
I know not getting what I want with
But
even with the paid AI stuff, it's a challenge, and then getting continuity.
Yeah. Exactly, the continuity.
Piecing these different things together, and it's like they need to look right if a scene's going to flow. You can't have like a slight difference in like the clothes that a character's wearing,
Yeah, I'm extremely controlling and very much a perfectionist when it comes to things like this. So it would probably just annoy me more than anything if it's not abiding by exactly what I'm telling it, and it's going kind of open. It's too loose with its interpretation. So it's kind of I have a lot more control over what I'm doing with the audio. But the video I'd love to do somewhere down the line. It's just that it's so much work already with the audio. It would be so much work again, I think, adding the video to it. I'm not saying it's not out of the realms of possibility somewhere down the line, but I would probably have to have a team. That's when I'd start to have to have 2 or 3 of me to do things to try and make sure there's a cohesive project.
Well, I think not too long from now, what's you're going to be able to take your audio dramas and use them as an input for this AI tech, and it'll spit out the movie. From what I've seen, what what this, I don't even know what this new Google application is called. I mean, it generates everything, including audio score, everything. I
Well,
mean,
it would be some serious prompt writing and then a lot of tweaking to get continuity between scene to scene and everything.
right. Well, say, a few years down the line, you could just, upload your audio files and it gives you something very close to what you want. Then you could just make some minor tweaks and it gives you
Minor tweak.
it gives you the movie that you want. Would you be, I mean, and by this time, I'm hoping you have a bunch of supportive patrons who can, help you pay for some legal counsel. Would you be willing to jump through those hoops to make this available to the public?
Oh yeah, I'd absolutely do it. I mean, looking at what Star Wars Theory has done with his videos, and he's doing some incredible stuff with
Yes.
CG and with hiring actors and things and special effects and full film crews and things like that. The use of AI now has already cut all that down massively.
Yeah.
So there's a fraction of the cost and the amount of people required to produce something like that. So it's not beyond the realms of possibility that I'll be able to adapt this in the next year or maybe two, possibly. I'd have to investigate and find out what's out there and the limits of what these programs can do, because I don't know what they can achieve yet, what the extent of what they can do is. But if I can get an idea of the realms of what's possible, then I might start to play with it and see if I can start creating a few things. But at the moment, I just want to if I can get episode 8 finished, then I'll look into it. Put it that way.
Sure.
Well, just for folks, I see the number go up and down a little bit, so I know there's some people that are stopping by and taking a look at the stream. Those of you who are just, stopping by, the author here, World of Swap Shop at Star Wars Retold, his Praxeum of the Pathfinders is an excellent audio drama. The images you're seeing on screen have nothing to do with it. I don't want you to think that we're having these serious discussions about making a film when you see this on screen.
Yeah, no.
It has nothing to do with him. It's
That's
all
Lauren's art.
audio. Well, these are just to give us something to look at as we move on. But in any case, Yoda is there and makes an appearance as a Force ghost right after Kenobi.
I'm hoping that's a nice kind of like little surprise reveal for people when they get to hear that bit, because you might just think, oh, it's just Obi-Wan. But then Yoda shows up as well, and it's kind of even more emotionally resonant, hopefully.
Maybe I shouldn't have done this slide. But anyway, that way it's a surprise. But no, it's a overall excellent scene, and it does conclude where, I just say Yoda knows, and then I got this, and let's see, what else did I get? It's like here, he'll like as many Yodas as I can give him. And but anyway, Lady's in trouble because now we're about to, and I guess that's what comes up next, is we're about to go back to Rey, who of course is dealing with that oceanside dark cave and whatever she's experiencing. We're about to find out, because Yoda and Kenobi are like, oh no, wait a minute, she's in trouble. We all sense it. And so Luke's the only one with a physical body, so I think he'll have to do the heavy lifting.
Or him and Chewie, maybe.
Oh yeah, Chewie's still there. That's right.
Yes.
All right, so I think that's it for this evening. We've covered everything. Chapter 9 will be out probably sometime this week. If it takes an extra week, that's fine. I mean, I'm sure people are willing to wait for some high quality stuff.
Yes.
And the last thing you want to do is put out something with, something you wish you had back.
Exactly. Yeah. Once it's up there, it's up there. So the episode 8, chapter 8 and 9 should be. 8 was quite relatively quick and simple to upload because of the amount of dialogue. Dialogue heavy ones, although they do take a lot of AI credits out of your account because there's a lot of generation, they're a lot less work because the dialogue is carrying the story instead of sound effects and all the editing and things like that. So the special effects. So chapter 9 is also quite dialogue heavy because there's a lot of exposition and the story needs to be forwarded through a lot of explanation. And I'm trying my best not to make that boring for people. So it's hopefully I'll have chapter 9 out fairly soon because it's a lot easier to edit and produce than it is with all of the crazy effects and battles and things like that going on. So
alrighty, folks, and I'll even put up a post when it comes out too. So anyway, thank you for joining us, Swappers. It's great for you to spend so much time with us this evening, and now you have you got to get a little bit of sleep before the sun comes up.
Yeah, thanks for letting me come on and talk about it. I rarely get to do that.
Anytime. I guess after the next 2 or 3 chapters, we'll meet up again.
That'll be great.
Look forward to that. Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's an excellent story, and those of you who have started listening to it, please leave your comments down below. And I think I do encourage you to help bring more attention to it by maybe at first, maybe once a month or whatever, maybe doing a live stream where you get some of your friends to talk about it with you. And I'd be happy to join you with that. And
that's a good idea. Yeah,
it'll help the channel subscribers have something to, some more material that you don't have to work on in advance,
Sure. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Yeah, I may well do that. Thanks very much for the suggestion.
And by the way, people who are not subscribed to Star Wars Retold, please go into the video description box, subscribe, click on the bell, and then binge watch all of that. And make sure, please, that after you finish watching an episode, that you comment on it, because that will help his channel in the algorithm. Please leave a comment and like.
There's nothing I like better than reading people's comments as well. I love the interaction. So that would be greatly appreciated. And do share it with anyone that you think might enjoy it too.
All righty. Well, that's it for this evening, folks. You'll be finding out like Wednesday or Thursday what we're doing next weekend. I'm still not completely decided, but Earworms will be back next Sunday. And until then, I don't know. Enjoy living. Here we go.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.